Okay, so here we are, week two, and Tuesday night, our second live session. And my goal tonight is to talk about the assessment and using vector graphing tools. The first week and last night, I spoke about Adobe Illustrator and how you should get used to working with Adobe Illustrator. Last week, a number of you did your graphic chart using some of the tools that were available week one, which I don't have a real big problem with. However, now this week, we are going to be working with Adobe Illustrator. So if you had done Illustrator last week, which would have been fine, which would have been good, no problem, you would have been a little bit more ahead because you would have used it once, and it wouldn't be a total first time for you. I'm assuming too that many of you haven't actually used these graphic tools to create charts and graphics and charts and graphs and things like that. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about the assessment first. So utilizing software tools, part of a professional workflow. Learning how to use these tools will make you a more effective designer and more useful to an employer. It's very important that as you go along, you keep an open mind and you try to experience as many different things as you can. Don't be afraid to learn things. It's actually a very good thing. The more you learn, the better it will be for you, because your employers will find you more valuable, more employable. As you use software tools, it's important that you think of the end goal of the tool. So essentially what that means is, what is that tool supposed to do? What is it expected to do? What is it going to do for you? And what are you going to get out of it? And how the result will impact your overall message. Since tools get you results very quickly, there's a tendency among novice designers to overuse gimmicks and effects that are available. There's an entire concept of simple design or flat design, and now that I think about it, I probably will later on tonight put a link in the announcements to flat design for you to take a look at. I think it might be relevant here because, again, we're talking about keeping things simple, keeping things basic. And, you know, I have a tendency myself of getting very elaborate in the stuff that I do. And sometimes it works out great. Other times, not so much. And I'm not saying that I'm capable of doing a lot of bad things, but if you listen to the principle that they're talking about here, the tendency among designers, and not just novice designers, is to overuse gimmicks and effects that are available. So, you know, I am completely for using some gimmickry and some effects, but you have to have a sense of balance with them. You can't just pile on a whole lot of effects and a whole lot of gimmicks. You know, if you're going to use a gimmick, maybe use one gimmick, maybe two, and that's it. Don't go crazy. And think about how you're employing the gimmick or the effect. And is it something that you can incorporate into your overall presentation? So, you know, if you're going to make a chart or a graph, or last night, we worked on a poster, does that effect or that gimmick that you're using, does that come out to be something that you can employ throughout the entire graphic? That's a very important thing. And again, even if you're doing that, don't overdo things. Always try to keep that in mind. All right? Scroll this down a little bit. I went too far. Okay. Since tools, here we go. You only use the options for the tools to clarify or enhance the message. Resist using them to decorate and add distracting details. That's an incredibly important thing I want you to think about when you're working as a graphic designer. Always think about what you're putting into your design. Are you putting in something because you just want to fill space, or you just want to dress something up, or is what you're using really adding significantly to the piece? That's the big question. And all I can say to you is, again, as they say here, resist using elements or things that are going to decorate and distract. Make sure that whatever you use makes complete sense within the context of your piece, whatever it is you're working on. So again, this is not a big one tonight. This is very simple. For our prompt for this assessment, you'll get to show off your skills with the graph tool you used in this week's assignment. Take the provided data, and there is data that's downloaded here. I've already downloaded that data, and I use that data to create the graphics that I'm going to play with tonight. And eventually I'll show you what that data looks like, what you get when you download that data. And it's important for you to understand that this assignment must be done using the Illustrator graphing tool. So please do me a favor. Don't be submitting to me things that are done in those programs that you had worked on last week. This has to be done in Adobe Illustrator. If it's not done in Adobe Illustrator, I'm going to make you do it again. I have to respect the I have to respect, and you have to respect the assignment and what the assignment asks us to do. All right, so I hate to be a pain about things, but there are just times when I have to, put my foot down and say this is the way it's got to be. You're going to create 3 custom graphs. I've already done this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a bunch of different things, and I'm going to bounce back and forth from one stage to another, mostly because I'm interested in showing you some stuff and explaining some things to you, and I find that by jumping around from place to place, I can focus on certain things that I'm interested in dealing with a little bit better that way. And we'll give it a try and see how that goes. So one's going to be a bar graph, one's going to be a pie graph, and one is going to be a line graph. You do not need to create final infographic from the data. All this assessment is attempting to do is to get you to practice with your data and you to practice with the chart tools in Adobe Illustrator. We're just interested in seeing you create these 3 types of chart: bar chart, pie graph, and a line graph. And again, I'm going to do all of that tonight, so you'll see how I go about doing it. And I'm going to show you how I go in and customize these things a little bit. So you're going to create an 8.5 by 11 document in Illustrator. It can be portrait or landscape, totally up to you. But keep in mind, look at the assignment. The assignment is very specific. 8.5 by 11 document in Illustrator. If I look at the art, and if I'm convinced that it is not based on something that came from Illustrator, I will say so, and I will, put in that you need to do it again. So what I'm getting at is, don't waste your time doing this in some other program, because you'll only have to go back and do it again. All right. So you're going to design 3 graphs, each displaying different data: pie graph, line graph, and a bar graph. For the U.S. solar wind generations and 5 top states, 225, you can choose to cover either the solar or the wind power data. So basically, you don't have to do both of them. But I do want to show you something rather interesting. In the 5 top states, 2015, I want to show you, I actually attempted to do both. And because the data that is given is so completely different from one another, that, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go through the process of showing you, and then I'm going to show you a real fascinating way. At least it's fascinating to me. See, all this stuff is fascinating to me. I find Adobe Illustrator an incredibly fun program to work with. I've been working with it now since around, 2004 or 2002, somewhere back then, pretty far back. And I'm actually pretty good with it, although I have to be completely honest with you. I don't get the opportunity very often to make charts and graphs. They just don't come up too often for me. So I'm actually having fun doing this. And I just want you to understand, for the U.S. solar and wind generation in the 5 top states, you can choose to cover either the solar or the wind power data. So you don't have to worry about doing both. You can do one. However, if you want to do what I did, you can actually produce a version where you can show both bits of data. And I'm going to do that with the 5 top states 2015 because I think you're going to find it rather interesting how I handle this, how I pull it off, and how I make it work. At least I hope you'll find it interesting. I'm going to do it because I thought it was rather interesting. And it gives you an idea of, if you think about things, if you really think about the data and the information that you have, you'll amaze yourself with what you can come up with, all right? Choose the appropriate type of graph to represent the specific data. Adjust the values, categories, and legends so they are relevant to the story. Customize the numeric values and scale where needed. Apply relevant colors and choose appropriate fonts for the text. Do not use the default font. So essentially what it's saying is, and if you remember what we talked about, what I talked about, I guess last night, but definitely last week, there's 2 different ways that you can customize these charts and these graphs. While the chart and the graph is still a functioning chart and a graph, you can go in and change fonts, you can move elements around, you can change the sizes of things, you can change the colors of things. Then what you can do is you can ungroup your chart or your graph, and in doing that, what will end up happening is you'll end up breaking the link to the data, but you'll keep your graphics, which you can then go to the next level of customizing, which means that you could do things like 3D modeling to it and a bunch of interesting stuff. So there's 2 different levels of how you can customize this, and it all depends on you, how you want to go with it, okay? So I'm just mentioning that so that you hear me say it, and then I'm going to play with it a little bit later on. So there are also, very important, add chart designs to the graph. Download provided graphics here. They provide you with 2 really pathetic graphics. One of them is like a little sunburst, and one of them is a little wind sail. And they're terrible. But you know what? The bottom line is they supply them to you. I would like you to consider the fact that when you're working as a graphic designer, if a customer supplies you with a piece of art and instructs you to use that piece of art, it's very important that you respect the wishes of your customer. So in this particular case, I am not going to fight City Hall. I am going to simply use those graphics, and I'll show you how I use them, and you could use them in much the same way as I use them, okay? But again, as I say, they're very poorly done. I also went in on my own and found some interesting graphics, which I am going to utilize. I went online and did a Google search, and I'm going to go over a lot of that when I get to it tonight as well, so that you could see how I handled coming up with graphics myself for some of the elements that I want to add to my own design, okay? See here, you can design your own if you would like, but keep the principles in mind and focus on clear visualization of data. Remember to communicate, not decorate. So what I'm saying to you is, since they provided these 2 graphics, I would recommend that you use them. However, if you take a look at what I did on my next graphic, or my next graph, I went out and I did a search to find some specific graphics that suited the purpose that I had with my other graphic, and I'm using those graphics. And I'm going to go through that whole process to show you, all right? So the presentation guidelines present all 3 graphs on one page. So you only need to make one page with the 3 graphs sitting on it. No big deal, okay? Clean up the file and delete any obsolete objects outside the artboard. Now, here is a very important thing. They're asking you to submit this as a .ai file. Now, there's a couple of things that are very important for you to understand. if you use any kind of a linked graphic, which I'm going to show you how to get around using a linked graphic, okay, which is a bitmap. I'm going to show you how to get around that. But one of the things that it's going to be important for you to do, if you change the fonts, and let's go back up to here where it says this. Where are you? Customize America. Choose a, here we go. Apply relevant colors and choose appropriate fonts for the text. Do not use default. Now, here's a very important thing that you need to know. Whatever fonts you have on your machine, there is going to be some of the fonts that are on your machine that I have on my machine. That's inevitable. But there's also going to be fonts on your machine that I don't have on my machine. Now, if you do not create outlines for your type, and I'm going to make sure I do that tonight to show you how to do it, okay? If you don't create outlines for your type, what's going to happen is you're going to send me the .ai file, and if the font that you're using is not on my machine, I will get an error message telling me it cannot display the fonts because it doesn't have the fonts on my machine to display it. If that happens, I'm going to write in a note telling you that this has occurred, and I'm going to ask you to go back and outline your type and resubmit it. And I just don't want to have to put you through the extra effort of doing that. So I'm alerting you right now that this is going to have to be done, and I will try to remember before the end of the night to show you how to go about doing it. Okay? Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Please proceed. Okay, that's it. All right. So that's basically it. Now, there's a couple of things that I just want to cover before I get out of here and start getting into the actual work here. I'm going to go back to the announcements, and I want to show you a couple of announcements here. Okay. First of all, I just want to point out that here's the information for Wanda Bryant, our teacher, our teaching assistant. If you need help of any kind, oh, and you know what? Let me get rid of this thing. I've had enough of it. There we go. All right. If you need any help whatsoever the rest of this week, you probably by now should have my hours. And this will give you Wanda's hours. So if for some reason the hours that I'm in Blackboard do not work for you, you could take a look at Wanda's hours, and perhaps Wanda's hours would work better for you. Wanda is very capable, and she can help you pretty much as well as I can help you. So if you want to wait and talk to me, fine. You come and see me when I'm in Blackboard, or send me an email and I will reply to you. If you can't for some reason see me, then see Wanda, okay? So that's that. Now there's another thing. I have a tool in my on my computer called a snipping tool. It's right here. And if I click on it, there it is, I get this little pop-up. And what I can do is I can come in here and I can create a new snip. And what that means is I can come over here and I can sort of like zoom across a particular area of my screen. And you see what it does? It creates a snip for me. And then I can go File, Save As, and I can save this as a JPEG file, and I can use this for anything I want to do with it. I don't know whether you guys have snipping tool. I'm not going to save this because it's just a demonstration. I don't know whether you guys have a snipping tool. And if you're on a Mac, there might be another tool that you have. But since I don't have a Mac, I don't know exactly what that tool would be called. I know you can save your desktop, but this is different. This is saving a snip of something. And I'll show you in a little while why I would want to have this snipping tool. The reason that I'm bringing this up to you is because what I did was I came in here and I put a link to the snipping tool where you can click on this, all right, and it will take you to the snipping tool, and it'll tell you all about the snipping tool, how to use the snipping tool on Mac, no download. It'll tell you how to use it. Is there a screen printer snipping tool on the Macs? It'll tell you, yes, print screen. Well, that's what they're talking about. But I'm wondering if you can snip, if you could get a copy of the snipping tool, the equivalent of a snipping tool for the Mac. a PowerSoft. What's this? Is a comparable to Windows snipping tool, since it also has various modes of selection, window screen or timed screen. Use this program simply to click Finder, window screen. I still don't think it's clear. I think it grabs the entire screen. Is there a tool like snip tool variable? I'm looking for an app that for the functionality. Remember, let me snip an image or either copy it or macOS. Let's see. Question. I don't know. Look through here and see if you can find it. I gave you the link to it, and it gives you some ideas as to how to go about doing it. Obviously, you can print your screen. It'll tell you how to do that, and that's one way around it. But I like to use the snipping tool because the snipping tool allows me to grab a very specific thing. I'm going to get back to this and show you. All right, now I'm going to go back to announcements. I want to show you one more thing. Link to writing resources. I also have a link in here. Now, the reason I'm giving you this link and the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is because in every one of my classes, there is a small number of students. I'm not mentioning any names, so I'm not trying to, upset or point out anything to anybody. I'm simply stating a fact. And that is that in every one of my classes, there are people who struggle to write. And this link to writing resources, which is right here, will take you, if I click on it, it'll take you to this page, which how to spot fake news, plagiarism, interactive APA tutorial, writing assignment, infographic, a short infographic, let's see, help you tackle writing assignments by breaking it down in simple steps, APA template using CRAAP. Let's see what else they got here. Son of Citation Machine, Preludes Online Writing Lab is one of the more useful and extensive writing sites available, used by many outside Purdue University. OWL is a very common starting point for people with APA. Well, this is APA styles, generating keywords. I was kind of hoping more that it would be a link to somebody who you could talk to about writing, because there's some people that need that. But anyway, these are some things that are helpful for you as far as writing is concerned. So what I did essentially was I gave you that link as well. So those are my announcements for the week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and this is your assignment. This is the assignment as you have to do it. Or let me put it to you this way. This is the assignment as I did it, okay? I'm going to come into here for a second, open this up, and let's go to week 2, and I'm going to go to assessment week 2, and I have in my energy data here, okay, I have the 5 top states, U.S. energy consumption, U.S. solar and wind generation. Now, each one of these is a Excel file. Now, I'm going to open up U.S. solar and wind generation Excel file so you can see what it is. Okay. Here it is. Now, I'm going to enable editing on this thing. There we go. I'll have to save it. So basically, here is your graphic information that you're going to use for your graph. I just wanted to show you this because this is basically what you are being given. I'm going to open up the energy consumption so you can see the energy consumption. Give it a second to open up. There's the energy consumption, nuclear, renewables, coal, natural gas, petroleum. Actually, I think this particularly works well enough, works good as a pie chart. I would recommend doing this as a pie chart. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's what I made my pie chart from. And then the 5 states 2015 is this guy right here. Now, I believe this is the one that they're telling you that you could either go with the megawatts, MWs, or the homes. I think that, and the reason that they're doing this is because the numbers are so grossly different than one another that it is not capable, you're not really capable of producing a proper chart for this. But if you're stubborn, and if you're clever, and if you're determined, like I am, you can find a way to do it. And I will show you how I handled it and made it work. So, and again, I'm doing this because, you know, I'm trying to show you how to work with Adobe Illustrator, and at the same time, I'm trying to show you how you can think through problems. And if you learn something about thinking through problems, and if you learn something about Adobe Illustrator, then I will feel comfortable that, you know, I've done my job and have helped you to get somewhere as a graphic designer. So I just wanted to show you this right now. I also wanted to point out to you that I was under the impression that you could actually take an Excel file and turn it into a chart or a graph, and I was not able to do it. And I'm going to go through that as well, and I'll show you how I handled that. Okay, so I'm going to close all these things, and we'll get back to them shortly. Close all of them, and I guess we can minimize this for a minute. All right, but let's take a look at this for a second. All right, so here's the deal. Let's see if I have it. Graphics AI. That right there is the graphics that they give you to work with. And as you can see, what you got here is this little solar symbol for the sun, and then you've got this, which is a kind of a windmill. You know, a wind. What do they call them? Wind. I guess a windmill. Anyway, that's your graphics right there. And if you come back here, U.S. solar and wind generation, you can see that what I did was I substituted. See the little square right there? Watch what happens. If I click on this guy right here and move it out of the way, you see I left it there so that you could see it. That right there is the default graphic that comes when I create my chart. So what I did was I just basically put this over top of it. I could have gotten rid of it, but my point is I wanted to show you how I approach this. See, so there again, there's one of those little devices. I just simply substituted it with my little sun, okay? And I did it with the U.S. solar and wind generation, and I added this to this line to show the points on this bar graph, okay? So I'll get back to that later. This is the other one that I want to really quickly show you. This is the one where you only really have to do one of these. You can either do the homes or the megawatts. I did both, and I did both because I wanted to show you that it's actually possible to do both and make a comparative chart out of it. So I'm going to go through the process of how I did this. So that you can get a sense of how it's done. If you don't do this, if you don't do what I did here, I'm not going to fail you. I'm just trying to show you that, you know, you can do these things. So it's kind of important that, you know, you get some kind of ideas from me, and that's part of my ideas. All right, so now, you know, you are supplied these two graphics to work with. You have this one here, U.S. Energy Consumption 2015. Petroleum, natural gas, coal, renewables, and nuclear. So what I basically did was I went online. I did a Google search. I'm going to come over here so that you could see it. Here's where I copied my solar, and I think the other one is over here. There it is. Let me bring it over a little closer. There's my solar and my wind. Those are the graphics that they supplied me with. And as I said to you, I could, if I wanted to, I could have gone and I could have, you know, got something different for solar and something different for wind. I chose not to because I wanted to actually use them so that you could see what it would be like if I did use them. And I wanted to show you how you might go about finding something much better. So what I did was I did a series of Google searches, and here they are. What I did was I looked up black and white vector art of petroleum, and I get all of this stuff right here. Now, this is the one that I actually picked right there. That's the one that I actually used. And all I did to get this thing, all I had to do, now I don't know whether this will work for you or not, but you'll have to figure it out. All I had to do is click on this thing, drag and drop it to my desktop, and I can then open it up, and you see I have it. And then I can go in and I can trace this thing, and I actually did this one already. Let me go back to Illustrator for a second. I already did this one right here. And I already did that one right here, and it's that right there. That's my petroleum. So the next one is natural gas, coal, renewables, and nuclear, right? So what I did was I did the same thing. I went in and I looked up coal, natural gas, nuclear, and renewables. So these are the other graphics that I came up with. Now, I haven't done any of these yet, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to save them to do them tonight with you so that you could see how I handled this. So I got these black and white graphics here. And this one is not black and white, of course, but that's okay. It's dark enough that I can make this work. So what I'm going to do now is, just like I did with this right here, the petroleum, I'm going to come in and I'm going to turn these into pieces of vector art that I can use to replace these shapes right here. These are my boring shapes. So what I was thinking of doing is a two-step process. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all these little squares with these little graphics. And then after I do that, I'm going to recolor the whole chart or the whole pie chart. I'm going to recolor it so that it makes a little bit more sense with the individual topics. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the artwork that I have right here. And again, as I say, just so that you know, I came into Google, I did a Google search, and what I'm going to do is, this is petroleum. I'm going to change this to vector art of coal, C-O-A-L. Hit enter. And now you see I got coal, and somewhere in here, I'm not exactly sure just where I found it, but somewhere in here is the lump of coal that I used. I don't even see it. It's here somewhere, though, believe me. Here somewhere. Yeah, I can't find it now, but it's in here. All right, so there's coal. And then the next one is, I'm going to show you the next one, which is natural gas. Enter. No. Hold it. Natural. And enter. There we go. And we have natural gas, and there's actually some nice ones in here too. Actually, I could maybe even find a better one now that I'm looking at this. I got to think better ones. Although the one that I got's probably okay. I'm not going to stress it. I think it'll be all right. So I got natural gas. I can come in here and find something that I can use to create the natural gas. And again, let's say I wanted that natural gas right there. I click on it. Now, this thing here, I can drag and drop this thing over here, but sometimes you can't do this. Sometimes they won't allow you to drag and drop this. So I'm going to show you why I would use my snipping tool right here. I'd click on the snipping tool. I'd click on a new snip. And then what I would do is I would come over here and I would drag over the elements that I want right there. And now I've created this little snip. And I'd go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this gas. And I'm going to save it just on my desktop. Hit Save. And then close it. And when I go to look for it, let me find it. I think it's right here. There it is right there. I can double click. And there's my little gas graphic right there, okay? Now, just for the heck of it, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going to get on my desktop. Let's find it. Gas. Let's see where it is. It's right there. Click on it and hit Place, and then click, and there it is. So now I have that gas right there, and I think probably what I'm going to do is maybe use that gas because I think it's actually a pretty cool one, and it's a little bit more like the graphics that I'm using. So here's the story. This is how I get my graphics. Now what I want to do is, these are bitmaps, okay? If I take this graphic and I place this over in here, can you see what happens? You get this white background, and you get this sort of pixelated look over here. It's not very useful. It really isn't. So what I want to do is I want to take this back over here, and I want to turn this into a piece of vector art. Once I turn this into a piece of vector art, it's going to be far more useful for me. And it's really not hard to do this. again, I haven't really had the opportunity to speak with any of you guys, so I don't know what you know or what you don't know. I'm assuming you don't know this. So what you're going to do is, this is a bitmap, and I'm going to turn this bitmap into a piece of vector art. Once I turn it into a piece of vector art, this is what I get. That was basically one of my graphics that I turned. It was a bitmap that I turned into a piece of vector art. All right, so start by selecting this. Then you're going to go to, let me move this over, go to the Object menu, and you're going to go to Image Trace, and you're going to go Make. And there, it's already traced. Now, I could go in here, and I could take this panel, and I could, you know, modify this thing, make it look different, make it look a little bit better if I want. But to be totally honest with you, that looks pretty good right there. I don't even think I have to go any further with it than that. Now, watch what happens. This is ready to be turned into a piece of vector art. So to do this, what I'm going to do again is go to the Object menu, and I'm going to go down to Image Trace, and I'm going to go Expand. And look, you can see already, see the little anchor points on there? It's turned into a piece of vector art. There it is. So what I want to do is I want to go Object, Ungroup, because it's a grouped object. And now I can come in here, and I don't know whether it's ungrouped yet. Let me see, Object. Yep, I think it is ungrouped. So I'm going to hit Delete. Hold on. Click Delete. There we go. And I think I'm going to select this, and I'm going to delete that, because this is the one that I want to use right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over to here, and I'm going to use my free transform tool, holding down the Shift key and the Alt key. I'm going to bring this down until it's about the same size as, I think it's probably a little smaller than the other one. Shift and Alt, bring it up a little bit. I think that's probably pretty close. Let me see if I bring it over here. Pretty close. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to place it next to natural gas. Just like that. That's probably pretty good. And just so that I can get myself sort of in the range of where I want to be, I'm going to change it to orange for now. I'm going to deal with the colors in a little bit. I'm going to delete this color, and now I have petroleum, which looks like a little drop of oil or a little drop of gas. I have natural gas, which looks like a burning gas. Coal is next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my coal, and this is the piece that I got, the coal piece that I got. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go to the Object menu again, and I'm going to go to Image Trace, Make. And it turns this into a vector piece of art. Now, again, I could bring this out, and I could fix the threshold. I could play around with this threshold a little bit, and I can, you know, clean it up a little bit. Let's see, Payouts, move it a little bit. Yeah, it actually is pretty clean the way it is, so I don't have to fool with it too much. And I'm going to go Object, Image Trace, Expand. Okay, and once again, I now have a piece of vector art, which the whole reason I'm doing this is, number one, so I could get a piece of art that I could use in my graphic, my visual. I wanted to get a piece of art that I could use in my visual, but I also wanted it to be a piece of vector art so it's fully scalable, and I wanted to get rid of the background. All right, so I'm going to go Object, Ungroup, and let's see if that works for me. Let's delete it. Yes, it did. And I'm going to get rid of that black right there. Delete that. Great. Now, what I think I'm going to do is, I'm going to make this just like a lump of coal. So I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to come over here to my Pathfinder panel, and I'm going to combine it to create one shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a color to it, which at this point I'm just going to start off by making it black. Okay? And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to drag it over to here, and let me zoom down. Let me scroll down to here. And once again, I'm going to take this thing, and I'm going to scale it to the size that I want. Hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, and I'm going to bring this thing down until it's approximately the size that I need, which is probably pretty good right there. Okay, now maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll just distort it slightly and make it a little bit narrower, because I can do that if I want. There, that's actually pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk this down until it's situated in where the coal should be. And I'm going to move it over a little bit. And now keep in mind what I said I was going to do eventually. Move this over one. Eventually, I'm going to change the colors on all of these things. So here I'm going to click on that. And now that's yellow. I can delete this. So now what I have basically is I have a graphic that takes the place of the petroleum. I have the natural gas. I have the coal. Now the renewables. So I'm going to come over here, and the renewables, that's it right there. So what I'm going to do is, again, select this thing, go to the object menu, and I'm going to go to image trace, and I'm going to go make. And again, it turns it into a nice piece of vector art. Very simple. And part of the reason that this actually works so simply is because I picked black and white. Let me go back here. I very specifically searched for black and white vector art of, and then coal, nuclear, natural gas, petroleum, renewables, so on and so forth. It gives me nice black and white art that I could use. It makes it very simple for me to take that art and modify that art into something that I can use. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're going to try to do this. It's the easiest way to go. Step one is to find yourself the vector art, keep it, clicking it, dragging it to your desktop, okay, saving it. Okay, now this is, I'm going to copy and replace it. I don't want to do that. I already got it. But that's basically how you do it. Then you bring it into Illustrator and you trace it. All right? All right, so let's go on to the next one here, which would be this renewables. And I'm going to go, actually, let's see here. Let me see if I can maybe. Yeah, actually, I think that was good right there. I like that right there. So I'm going to go Object, Image Trace, Expand. And now again, these are all vector graphics. Object, Ungroup. I'm sorry, Object, Image Trace. Actually, I'm sorry, Object, Ungroup. That's what I'm at. So I ungroup this. I select this. I hit Delete. There's a couple of little scraps of crap here I want to get rid of. Doing that. I don't need this thing right here. Delete that. Now, I got 3 of these things. I honestly don't think I need all 3 of them, so I just have to decide which one I want. I kind of think I like this one right here, so I'm going to select these 2, and I'm just going to move them out of the way. I'm not going to get rid of them all together, okay? All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy right here, and I'm going to slide this thing over, as I did before with the others, using the free transform tool. I'm going to come in here and very carefully hold down the Shift and the Alt key, and I'm going to make that smaller until it's somewhat the size of the others. I think it's probably a little tiny bit bigger than it should be. So once again, I'll grab it and I will hold down the Shift key and the Alt key and make it a touch smaller, just a little tiny bit smaller. If I can do it, that's probably good. That's probably going to work just fine. And then I'm going to walk it down. Bring it down until it gets over top of the renewables, like that. There we go. I think that's probably pretty good. Maybe come over this way a little bit. Too far. I think that's good. Yep. Okay. And then I'm going to select it. Going to sample the color. So now it's green. And I'm going to click that little square of the color and delete it. So what I'm doing essentially is, instead of using these boring little squares, I'm coming in and I'm creating very appropriate little graphics, you know. Now, of course, the colors aren't right, but I'm going to deal with that in a few minutes. We'll deal with that in a minute. Let's go back and let's do the last one, which is nuclear. I wasn't entirely happy with what I came up with for nuclear, but this is what I came up with for nuclear. So basically what I'm going to do is I am going to make sure it's selected, go to the object menu. I'm going to go image trace, make, and again, maybe I'll bring out this panel and I will take the threshold, maybe drag the threshold over a little bit and see if I can clean it up a little bit better. It looks really pretty good. The paths, maybe I'll bring the paths up a little tiny bit. Looks pretty clean to me. That looks very clean as a trace. So I'm going to close this out and go Object, Image Trace, Expand. And now that is turned into a vector graphic. I'm going to go Object, Ungroup, right there. And again, I can come in here and click on this thing and delete it. And now I have the graphics. There's my individual little graphic pieces right there. Okay. This is pretty complicated compared to the other, but you know what? I'll see how it works. I may end up modifying it, simplifying it, but I think this might be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole thing and go Object, Group. So I've grouped this into one piece, and then I'm going to use a free transform tool, and I'm going to free transform this down until it's about the size of the other graphics that I'm using here. And I'm going to position that where the nuclear is. And that would be, let's see if this is, I think it probably needs to be a little bit bigger. Right, that's probably good right there. And now I'm just going to walk it down until it's over top of the blue, about like that. And then just for the time being, I'm going to click on my color and make it blue. And then, and again, I'm working with fills here. And then I'm going to delete that. And now I have, instead of these boring rectangular shapes, I have some really nice little symbols to show what the petroleum, the natural gas, the coal, the renewables, and the nuclear. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to address the weirdness in the color. I don't think the colors are the way I want them to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, these are the colors that I'm thinking of using, and I think they're probably pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to bring my swatches out, and I'm going to make sure nothing's selected. And I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go select all unused, and I'm going to delete all of them. There we go. And now take a look. Everything got deleted except the colors that I'm using right here. This one is, there's the red, there's the orange, there's the yellow, there's the green, and there's the blue. Okay? All right, so now what I'm not, what I don't find correct here is the way the colors are being used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the colors so that I think they work a little bit better. So here is how I have to do this. I happen to know that this red is associated with that red over there. So I'm going to come in here. First of all, I want to make sure I get my group selection tool because, see, this is grouped. See how this is grouped? These are not. So what I want to do is I want to get my group selection tool. I'm going to click on the red. I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to click on that. And my feeling is that the orange would be a better color for that. So I'm going to change that to orange. Okay? Now, the natural gas, my feeling is the natural gas should be a light blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the orange, hold down the Shift key, and select that. And I'm going to go with that light blue right there. That, I think, is a much better color for natural gas. Perfect? No, but it's pretty good. Now the coal, I think I want to go with black on the coal. So once again, with the group selection tool, I'm going to click on this, hold the Shift key down, click on that, and then come over here and make that black. Okay? Now, renewables are green, and I have no problem with renewables. Now, as far as nuclear is concerned, I think probably what I want to do with the nuclear, I'm going to select this, okay? Hold down the Shift key and select that. I think I want to make the nuclear red. So let's make the nuclear red. And there you have my final graphic. I've recolored it, and I've used graphics that I think are very appropriate. Let's go View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. Wrong one. View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. I want to go to this one. View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. There we go. Okay, so if you take a look at this, go to the View menu, go to Guides, Hide Guides. There we go. There you have it. There is my final graphic for the U.S. energy consumption of 2015. So what I did essentially was, and just so that you know, this thing here This is no longer a graphic. I ungrouped this whole thing, and I'm going to go to my appearance panel, go to the window menu, and let's go to appearance. And what I did with this was I did a 3D extrude and bevel. And here's the 3D extrude and bevel dialog box. I simply used the position of off-axis front. Not a big deal. I just basically came in here and chose off-axis front. And I made an extrude depth of approximately 50. The cap was turn cap on, so the cap is on. I did not give it any perspective. I may actually put perspective in a second to see what that looks like. And I'm going to hit preview so I can take a look at it. There it is. Okay, it looks really great. But here's another thing that I often do, and I'm going to see if this works out nice. This is perspective. What this does is it's going to make what looks like a more natural form of perspective. And this often looks really great. I don't know exactly how it's going to work with this, but usually it works really great. So I'm going to see how it works. I'm going to start dragging it out. And so far, not too much. Yeah, a little bit. That's probably pretty good right there. Hit OK. There we have it. Okay, so that is what it looks like with perspective. Not bad. The only thing I can tell you is I think I need a little bit more light. So let me go back in here and let's set this. So I think I want to play around with the lights. There's lighting I can put on this thing, and it's under more options. Here's my lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by taking this light, and I'm going to move this light up high like that. And look what it does. Do you see how it changes the lighting? If I move the light over here, you see how it changes the lighting? So I can actually move this light around, and I can change the position of the light, and that looks pretty cool. But what I think I want to do is I want to also put some light in here. So I'm going to add a second light. And what I'm going to do with this light is I'm going to drag this light way over here like that. Okay? Now, the problem is it's a little bit strong. So I think what I can do is I can hit the light intensity on that. And you see what I'm doing is I'm backing off the light intensity, making it not as bright. And I think probably around 50% is probably pretty good. Okay? So if I hit preview off, yeah, it's not going to want to go off and on. Okay, well, anyway, there is my graphic. Let me hit OK and let me deselect it. That's what my pie chart looks like. Looks really nice because you got that nice highlight up there and the colors are still bright. If you think it's too dark, you simply go back in like I did, and I'm going to go to my options again here, hit preview. And I'm going to bring the intensity of the light. Whoops, I want the intensity of the light back up. That one right there. I'll bring the intensity back up. Let's make it 75. Yep. It's a little hard to get it there. 70. Oop, I almost had it. There we go. There. That's even better. Hit OK. There you go. Okay, so there it is. That's a very nice little infographic. Now, the other thing that I can do with this if I wanted to, and I love this, is I can come in here with my group selection tool, and I can click on one of these, and I can make it break apart. Look, I can take this, and I can move this thing out. Look at that. Isn't that nuts? I love it. That's why I'm saying this program is absolutely fun. Look at that. Look what I can do with this. I can take this one here now. I'm using the group selection tool. I can move this one out and maybe over like that. I can just separate my pie out. It's very cool. Take this, move this out a little bit, and I can separate my pie elements. Very cool stuff. I just love it. And again, I'm only doing this because I want you to get the idea that you can do these things. It's very important that you have a sense of this. So there you have that. I've exploded that whole graphic. And again, it may not be the way to go with this particular thing. Maybe only one of them or maybe none. But I just want you to know that these are things that you could do. It's really important for you to know that you can do these things. All right? All right, so let's do this. Let's see here. Graphics, that's done. 5-star. Okay, so here, this is what happens. Let me show you. This is an actual graphic that is, this is one of the charts that I've worked on, and it is still an active chart. Watch what happens here. I'm going to go to data. Okay, so here's the problem that I have. I made states, megawatts, and homes, and then what I did was I actually put in. Yeah, that's not the right way to go. Well, actually, it is the right way to go. It'll work, but states shouldn't even be there. I don't even think we want states, so we delete that. Yeah, those states don't need to be there. There we go. So it still doesn't work. The problem is that the numbers are so radically different from each other. Okay, so what happens is you can see it's actually trying to generate that information down here, but the numbers are so radically different between the two of them that it's not going to happen. So here's what I did. I'm going to actually go through the whole process of doing this. What I did was I duplicated the chart. I actually made two separate charts with each having the same information, the same size. And then what I did was I combined the two charts to look like this, which is a very cool thing to do. This is what I'm going to do next because this is something I want you to see. Pretty cool idea, and it works. There's a little bit of work involved, and it'll take me a little while to do it, and it may confuse you a little bit, but I'll try my best to be very careful with it and make it happen so that it works. So let me go File, New, and let me create a new document. And this document is going to be, the artwork is going to have to be 8.5 by 11. I'm going to just make it 8 by 8 because I'm only doing one here. This is only a demonstration. 8 by 8 inches. And I'm going to do this as a landscape, not a vertical. Come on. Oh, man. Come on. Oh, actually, it doesn't matter, I guess. And I don't need any bleed on this. There we go. There we go. Oh, I don't want any. Delete. There we go. Oh, come on. That's 0. Let's try that. There we go. All right, hit create. Okay, so now I got that. What I want to do is I want to create another one of these. And you'll understand why in a minute. I'm going to close this out and close this out. All right, I want to create another artboard here. I could have actually done that. Let me go here and go, where are my artboards? Window, artboards, right there. And new artboard. There we go. So now I have two artboards. So there's a reason I'm making two artboards, because ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my chart, and I'm going to feed the information into the chart and then modify the chart, and I will end up with two charts, okay? So let's do this. This is going to be a bar chart right here, column graph tool. I'm going to use the column graph tool to create a bar. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to drag about like that, holding down the shift key like that. Okay, and I get my information. Now, according to this, I should be able to import data. Now, what happens when I do this is it brings me to here, desktop, information. It brings me into week 1, week 2, assessment week 1, energy data, and this is 5 top states, 2015. It's a Microsoft Excel document. Watch what happens. Hit open. Can't import the graph data. File is not a text file. So I cannot, it will not allow me to import text directly from an Excel file. The file is not a text file. So what does that mean? It means essentially that if I want to import this data, I have to do it by virtue of importing a text file. I have to create a text file. So let's create a text file, all right? I'm going to close this out because I now have my chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to go into week 1, week 2. I'm going to go into assessment week 2, energy data, and it's the 5 states, 2015, right there. Okay, so here is my chart. Now, again, the problem that I have with this, if you take a look at the numbers, okay, the numbers are radically different. This is much smaller numbers than these over here. These are much greater numbers. So the two of them are going to collide and not work. They're not going to want to work. It's going to be a pretty big nightmare if I try to make this work. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to get this data out of a Excel file into a text file. Once I get it into a text file, I shouldn't have any trouble importing that data. And we're going to give it a try and see if it works. I'm pretty sure it's going to work because it worked already when I did it this afternoon. So I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go Save As, and I'm going to browse, and I'm going to put it on my desktop just for the heck of it. Put it on my desktop. Top States 2015. Save As type. What I'm looking for is text. Let's see what we want here. Formatted text, space delineated, I think probably is good. Text, is that what I sent it? I think that's what I did. Tab delimited, space delimited. I'm going to try space delimited. Actually, I think I went tab delimited. And let's hit save. And let's see what we end up with. Select okay, no, don't worry about that. There we go. Hit yes. Okay. Now, I will give this a try, and let's see if I can go back into this, and let's go to data, and let's go to here, and let's import this data and see if it'll import. If it doesn't, I'll figure out what to do with it. Go to desktop, and I'm looking for top states. Look, text document, see it? 5 top states 2015, hit open, and watch. There, it did it, okay? Take a look. The information's in there, it did it. Okay, but the problem that we have, once again, is that the data is so ridiculously different from one another that there's no way possible to get a decent chart for both of them. So one of our charts is working okay. Okay, the home is working okay. That's what we have. This is our homes right there. There's our numbers right there. Okay, and I'm not even sure that looks right for some reason, but I'm going to go with it because that's what it's coming up as. It should be right. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to take these two graphics. I'm going to get my group selection tool, and I'm going to take both of these two graphics because, as I told you right now, they are, we're still working with these things as if they were grouped objects, so I can move this stuff around as I need to. And I'm going to, oops, I missed something. Shoot. Gosh darn it. There, did I get it back? Yeah, it didn't quite right. Let me bring it down one. Boom, there we go. That should do it. Nope, one more. I think one more. There, that should do it. All right, I have to grab all of this stuff. There we go. And then I don't want to get that, and I don't want to get that. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit and move it over a little bit like that. All right, so I got one chart. Now here's what I did to make this work. What I did was this. I am going to just select this chart as if it were just selecting the chart, and it brings up my information here. I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place, or just paste. Come on, did you paste? Control Z. What happened? It's strangling. It might be that I have so many things open. I might have to close some of these other files to make this work. Yeah, I think what it is, I got too much stuff open. Yeah, see, it's crash. So it's crashing. There we go. That's because I had too many things open. So let me do a couple of things. Let me get rid of this because we don't need it anymore. Let me close this because we don't need this anymore. And let me close this. Get rid of that as well. And then let me reopen Illustrator. Let me try this again. I'm also going to close this guy. The reason I think this is happening is because there's too much open and I've overwhelmed my system. So let's close this. There we go. And we'll do it again. Give me a second. Save changes. Yes. There we go. Let me get this thing closed. Illustrator will open up, and I will go back in and I'll do it again. Okay, so sorry about that. Not a big deal, though. I'll get it working. Come on. Boy, it takes an awful long time for this thing to open up. Okay. Jeez. This thing's taking forever. Come on. Oh. Here it comes. It should be there in a second. Here we go. Yeah, this thing's really a nightmare to open up. Okay, so file, new. And this time, instead of making one artboard, I'm going to create two artboards. And this is going to be 8 by 8. Two artboards. So 8 by 8. Come on. Oh. 8 by 8. There we go. And create. Here we go. Come on. Up, up, up. Let's go. Oh my God. This is killing me. Killing me. Oh boy. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Oh, it did it again. There we go. All right. All right. Oh, come on. All right, so there we have it. All right. Let me get this over here and get rid of that. Put that into here. Come on, you. There we go. All right. So let's try this again. I'm going to make a column graph. I'm going to come over here, hold the shift key down, create a column graph right there. I'm going to click here to import the data. This time I have already copied this data. I'm going to go to my desktop. I have it here. Watch, I'm going to go into weeks 1 and week 2. I'm going to go into assessment week 2 and energy data. And I have it right here, top states. See, it's a text document. Top states, hit open. And I'm going to click on this to apply it. And there you have there's the graphics that I'm looking for. And I'm going to close this off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm with this selected, okay? See, it's still a grouped object, and if I click on it, I can change the data. With this selected, I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place. And I think it's already done it. So I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to move this over. Yes, it did. Great. Okay. So here's what I'm doing. I'm duplicating this thing. All right? I'm duplicating this thing. So this is going to take a little bit of thinking. Watch what I do. It takes a little bit of thinking to understand what I'm doing, but it is not difficult. Watch what I'm about to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this guy right here, and I'm going to go to data. Okay, and what I'm going to do is the home is the one that's set up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove that. Remove that. And remove, oops, I think I missed that one. Remove that. And remove that. Okay, and then I'm going to update it. And see how that goes away. That's basically gone there. Okay, it's still there, but it's basically gone. So on this one, what I'm going to do over here is this. On this one, I'm going to select this one, and this one here, I'm going to, let's see, the one that I have is homes, right? Yeah. So I'm going to remove the homes. I'm going to remove the homes, and what I'm going to end up with, if you give me a second here, I'm going to end up with this. There, 2 separate charts, okay? So I'm going to get rid of this for the time being because I'm basically done. So I end up with 2 separate charts. Now, they basically, believe it or not, they're basically the same height chart. There's a few differences between the 2 of them, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine both of these into one, okay? And watch how I do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to begin removing some of the elements within this chart. So let me zoom in on this thing a little tiny bit. Let me zoom in on this a little bit if I can. There we go. Let me zoom in a little tiny bit. And what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start with the group selection tool. And I'm going to click on a couple of these elements and get rid of them. Like, let's see if I can get rid of that element right there. I can delete it. Yeah, okay, so here's the deal. In order for me to do this, I have to break these things apart. I have to detach them from their graphing capabilities, which means if I grab this thing, I have to go Object, Ungroup. It tells me the selection contains a graph. After a graph is ungrouped, you will no longer be able to access its graph style, its data, or change its graph design, which is perfectly fine because I actually have the data in here the way I want it. So I'm going to hit yes, and now they're just graphic shapes. I'm going to do the same thing to this one over here. Click on it, and I'm going to go Object, Ungroup, and I get the same message because they are 2 separate graphs with 2 separate bits of information. So I hit OK, and now I basically I've detached them from their data, and now I can start editing this. So what do I want to do with this? What I want to do with this is a couple of things. First of all, I want to take these numbers, and actually I want to make sure I got the right tool. Let me go to my group selection tool. What I want to do is I want to get these numbers, okay? And I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I want these little lines right here. Okay, so now I have the numbers and the lines. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use the right arrow key to move them over. I'm moving them over until they reach the other side of the line, just like that. Okay? So that's the first thing I'm going to do. All right? Now, the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select that line. Let me make sure I got my group selection tool. I'm going to select this line right here, just that line. And I'm going to go Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in Place. And now watch. I'm going to take that and I'm going to move it over, oh, you know, somewhere like this is probably pretty good. Just far enough over that, you know, you have it somewhere. Now, what I want to do next is I'm going to get rid of these little lines right here. I don't think I need these lines at all. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to delete these lines right there. Get rid of them all together. I delete them. Come on, you. There we go. Delete it. Okay, good. So what I'm doing essentially is I'm coming in here and I'm taking pieces and I'm kind of moving pieces around and creating what I need here to make this work. Now, I want to go to the View menu and I want to go to Guides and I want to show my rulers first and show rulers, and then I want to drag out a guide and I want to put that guide right there on that line right there. Now what I want to do is I want to carefully take this image right here, this chart right there, because it's not in the same position. And what I want to do is I want to select all of this, and I'm just going to move that down until it is sitting on that line. Okay, I'm aligning my graph there. My graphs are lined up now. All right, so basically what I'm going to do, I got the 2 of them sitting side by side here. What I'm going to do is I am going to take this line right here. Let me go Object, or actually, let me just use the Group Selection tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that line right there. Come on. And I'm going to delete it, okay? And then what I'm going to do is very carefully come down here and I'm going to grab those little dash lines right there, and I'm going to move them over to the other side of my numbers. Say maybe like that is probably pretty good. All right? And what I'm going to do is come back with my group selection tool and carefully select all of those numbers. And holding down the Shift key, I'm going to move them all the way over until they hit that other line. Watch. I'm going to bring it right on over until they hit that line right there. I think I did it. Let's see. I'm one little line off. One little tiny line off. So let me do this. Let me go Object, Lock, Selection, and let me grab all them again real carefully, and let me just arrow it over one time, and I think that does it. Perfect. Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Now, what I need to do is I need to take these lines and I need to move them over here. Before I do that, I'm going to get my direct selection tool. The group selection tool allows me to take objects that are grouped together. Okay? Now, these object unlock all. This object here, this is actually there. See, some of this is grouped together, some of it's not. What I want to do is I want to make this line down here longer. So I'm going to get the direct selection tool, and if you remember what I told you last night, the direct selection tool enables me to select just anchor points. Watch when I click on that line. Can you see the little anchor points? Both of them are little white open squares. That's what I want you to notice. I want to just click on that one little anchor point right there because I want to make the line longer. By clicking that and selecting that and making it blue, I can now use the right arrow to make that line go longer. And I'm going to send it way out there for just a minute because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving elements around. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to grab these shapes right there. And what I want to do with them is I want to move them over until they clear my numbers. Like a little bit more is good. Like that's probably pretty good right there. I'm just trying to get them to clear my numbers. So I want you to also notice real quickly that even though this 1500 ends up at the top of this chart, there's 35, whatever that is, 35, 3,500,000 or whatever it is. You'll notice that these numbers are in different positions as it goes up here, but the top of it ends up at 1500. Okay, so basically I got two separate lines here that I'm using for my graph to show the data. So now what I need to do is I need to come over here and I need to take these chart elements right there and I want to move them into here. But see, I don't like the fact that these are narrow and these are fat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and choose my scale tool. I'm going to bring the scale out. And I'm going to choose non-uniform. And I can go either horizontal or vertical. And what I want to do is I want to choose horizontal, leave vertical alone. I want to go horizontal, and I think I want to go 70%. Let's see if I'm right. Preview it. That's actually still a little bit bigger. I think I need to go 65. Let's try 60. Let's try that. That might work. I'd probably go 55. I don't know. It's a little hard to determine. 55. Let's see that. 55 is probably good. 55 is probably good. So I'm going to hit OK. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take these shapes and I'm going to start walking these shapes over. Oh, by the way, I don't need this guy right there, so I'm going to deselect that. Oh, I have to do it with the group selection tool. I'm going to click on them just to select these. I'm going to walk them over. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk them over until they start colliding with the objects in the other columns, like just to where they touch side by side like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the group selection tool to click on that to deselect it. And then I'm going to move the other ones over until it is in the next one's in the proper position, right about like that. Right about like that, I think will do it. And then I'm going to deselect that, and then I'm going to move these over. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially turning this into one chart with different numbers. Keep going until I get that there. That's probably pretty good. And deselect it. And then I'm going to move this guy over to here and bring it back until I get it where I want it, which is probably good right there. And this one here, move it over until it is like about there. Okay, so now I have my two charts combined. And this guy here, I move over, Control Z. I have to keep reminding myself to use the group selection tool to move this over, move it over like that. This I can delete, and I don't need any of this anymore because I actually have all the elements that I'm looking for over here. So now what I've done is I've actually created a chart. All right, now let me move this thing over like this, and I will get this into position. Homes. And then the other one, let me go to my data because I can't remember off the top of my head what the other data said. Let me come in here and let me go into week 1 and week 2, assessment week 2, energy data, 5 states. One of them is homes and the other is what? Megawatts. Okay, so it's going to be megawatts. So this is going to be edit copy, edit, paste in place, and then I'm going to walk it down until I get it in approximately similar position right about there, and double click on it, or triple click on it, megawatts, megawatts. There we go. All right. So this chart, because I did it again. Jeez. There you go. There we go. Actually, I'm going to move them anyway. So what I need to do is keep reminding myself to grab this. Move this over. There we have it. Homes and megawatts. All right, go to the view menu, go to guides. Hide the guides. There we go. So there is my chart. My chart has more or less been built. All right. Now it's not complete. I have to do a few more things to make this thing complete. Like for instance, what I'm thinking is I probably want to maybe separate this a little bit. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to separate that graph. Oh, I don't know, maybe like that. Okay. Oh, and first of all, the other thing that I think I should do probably is this. I probably should select all these things, including these two, and I probably should remove the stroke from it. So they're just fills. I think that is a much nicer look. Yes, it is. Okay, so I got a little bit of space there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of them over. Oh, geez, again, I keep forgetting this tool right here. The direct group selection tool. So I select all these guys, move them over until it's about like that, and then deselect this one and move that one over a little bit more, and then deselect that one and move that over a little bit more, and then deselect that one, holding the shift key down, of course. And then this guy here I think is a little far out, so I'm going to bring it in. Oh, geez. Again, it's such a pain. There we go, move it in. Okay, so now I have them the way I want them. One thing I noticed, though, is that all these graphics seem to be in front of that baseline right there. So what I can do is I can select all of these lines, and I can go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And, yeah, it didn't work. Let me click on this then and go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay, so it's giving me trouble. So here's how I deal with this. I click on it, and I go Edit, Cut, okay? And then I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste in Front. Boom, there. So there's a number of different ways they could do all this stuff. Now, what is wrong with this right now is that the California, Arizona, North Carolina, New Jersey, and Nevada are not underneath the proper columns. So by selecting all of them, I can begin to walk them over, and I can get them to situate themselves pretty much where I want them to situate, which would be between the two columns, because both of these both of these graphs relate to California, Arizona, North Carolina, New Jersey, and Nevada. Okay, so there you have the actual design of those two charts. So the only thing I have left to do with this, the only thing that I'm concerned with right now, is how to mess around with the colors and make this thing a little bit more, how do you want to say it, a little bit more special, a little bit more me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with colors. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy and shift select all of these guys here. And for the homes, I think what I'm going to use for the homes, I'm going to use maybe, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll use that color right there. Oh, and guess what? I don't want that. I want it as a fill. There we go. All right, now for the megawatt, let's go for the megawatt. I have no idea what a megawatt and what a home is, but I'm actually going to throw some color into it like this. And then I think I like, for that color, let's try that nice blue color. Oh, once again, I messed up. I want that to be a fill. Okay, so there's two good colors. That actually looks pretty nice. I don't have a problem with the colors on that. And there we have it. Now, the only thing left for me to do is to maybe in some way highlight the fonts so that the fonts relate to the charts themselves. So what I might do with this is I may come down here and I may select this thing. And again, I'm going to have to use the group selection tool. Hold on. Let me get the group selection tool out here. And let me come down here and let me select them. And maybe for the megawatts, which is what they are, we'll make them that blue as well. Okay? And actually, we probably also want them to be bold. We probably also want this type to be bold. So we're going to go to character, and it's Myriad Pro regular. I kind of like Myriad Pro. I'm going to go with bold. There we go. And then what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to make, yeah, I got it. I'm going to select this, okay, and I'm going to make that color right there, and I'm going to make that bold as well. Bold. There we go. And this here, I guess I'll do the same thing with that. Change the color to that red color and make it bold. Right there, make it bold. And then megawatts, let's change megawatts as well. Make it that blue color because it's nice colors. And let's make that, oops, let's make that bold. There. All right, so there is my finished graphic. That is my finished graphic. The only other thing that I might do with this is I may tuck this in a little bit better. Yeah, I may actually go to the view menu. Let me go to guides and show guides. There we go. And maybe what I'll do with this is I'll just take this thing, move it in a little bit more because I got the space to do it now. That's probably good right there. And the only thing I think I would want to do here is add a title to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to title this. Let's go back into here and let's go to week 1 and 2. Let's go to assessment and energy data. And it's the five top states of 2015. So let me, God, nothing ever goes the way I want it to go. Here we go. All right, here we go. Okay, so it's 5 top STATES states 2015. There, 5 top states 2015. Now the only thing that's left for me to do here is to make this a little bit bigger, and let me go to my free transform tool and let's make this thing somewhat bigger like this, nice and big and bold. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to align it. Let me go to my align panel, and I'm going to align it to the desktop, align it to the artboard, and it's going to be aligned. There we go. So now that's aligned. If we go View, Fit Artboard and Window, and we take all this stuff out of the way for now, there is our graph or our chart. That's our bar chart. Now again, you don't have to do this. I did it because I wanted you to see that you could do this. It's not impossible to do. It's very doable. It just takes a strategy to do it. If you did one or the other, in other words, if you just did home or if you just did megawatts, that would be perfectly acceptable because that's what the assignment tells you to do. However, I would like to see you do this if you feel like you have the energy to do it. Okay? So there's my first graph. Now the second graph, let's go in and let's do the second graph. This I don't need anymore. The second graph is going to be a pie chart. So let's go in here and let's create a pie chart. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down. I'm going to drag out a pie chart. I'm going to come in here now for the pie chart. Let me go File, Open. Give me a second. Open. Oh, you know why? Because I got to get out of here. File, Open. And let's go into my Assessment Week 2. Assessment Week 2 done. Chart samples. My assignment, I'm in the wrong one. Assessment I want. There we go. 3 graphs. There we go. All right. So the okay. So it's U.S. energy consumption 2015. All right. That's the one that I'm doing. All right. So let's go back to here, and let me go back to my art, and I'm going to Data, and I'm going to import the data. And I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to go into week 2, assessment, and energy data. And I'm looking for U.S. energy consumption 2015. Hit open. Can't import the graph files. File is not a text file. Okay, so again, you see when I go to try to import this as a data file, an Excel file, it will not open. So I'm going to hit cancel, and what I'm going to do is close this out, and I'm going to go in, open this again, come into week 2, go into assessment week 2, energy data, U.S. energy consumption, double click on it to open this thing up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save As. Where are we at? Save As. And I'm going to save this to my desktop. And I'm going to save it as a text tab delimited. I think it's actually, let me see, space delimited. Let me try it with that. Where are we at? Where? Tab delimited. Where I saw it. Text, formatted text, space delimited. Do I want it that way? Text, let me try text tab delimited. And it's going to go to my desktop. And hit save. And yes, don't worry about any of that. And let me minimize that in case we have a problem. Come back in here and go data. And now let's import the data, which we'll find on my desktop, and let's see if that works. Okay, so we're going to look for it. 5 times saved. Let's see where that's not the one we want. U.S. energy consumption 2015. I think that's it. Hit open. And let's click on that. And boom, look at that. We got a pie chart. Super deluxe. Okay. So basically, just so that you understand what I did, I went in and I took my Excel sheet, and I simply went File, Save As, and I saved it to my desktop as a text tab delimited. All right, I'm going to hit cancel because I already did it, obviously. And that will get you that, which is basically this. This is basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to put this in into your, you're trying to create that pie chart. And now, of course, what you can do is you can come in here and you can start the process of get your group selection tool, and you can start, moving things around a little bit, make this look like something that you want. If you go back to my 3 graphs, there's what I end up with. I ended up doing this. The only thing that you have to understand, and I lost some of this, it looks like I didn't get it. Somehow or other, I didn't get to save that. It all went fluey on me. So anyway, that's basically how you do this. And then, of course, U.S. Energy Consumption 2015, you would come in here and you would set some type U.S. U.S. Energy, ENERGYCONSUMPTION, consumption 2015, I believe is what it is. And then you'd select this guy, maybe center align it, okay? And then you're going to come in here and use your align tool to align it to the artboard, align it centered. And then I don't know what size I used over here. I'll find out, though. It's character. It's what size is it? 40 point. So I'm going to select this guy, come in here and set this to around 40 point. Let's go to 40 point. 48 point is too big, so I'm going to come down to 40. And it's still too big. Let me go down to 38. There we go. That's probably pretty good, and it's bold. Yeah. So there you have that one. And then basically, you can continue the process of modifying this a little further. Like, for instance, you could come in here and you could take your petroleum and your call outs, move them over a little bit. And, you could use your colors in here, and you can start using your direct selection tool to select the color. Hold down the shift key, select the color, and you can start applying your colors. Natural gas, and that is your natural gas color. And I believe I made that a light blue. And the coal, I made black. So make that black. The renewables and the renewable shift, I made that green, I believe, which was that green right there probably. Yep, good enough. Nuclear, and then the nuclear right there, I made red. Okay. And then since this thing is broken apart, it isn't yet, is it? Yeah, it's not broken apart. What you could do is, again, you could take this thing and you could go object ungroup, okay, and then you ungroup it. The moment you ungroup this thing, you have to select your object, okay. Select this guy right here. Let's see if I can do it this way. First of all, I want to get rid of that outline. I don't want the outline. So let's get rid of the outline on it. There we go. And let me see if I can make this work. So I got this guy. Let's go to the effect, go to 3D, extrude and bevel, and preview it. And there you go. So it's actually, oh, you know what? Hit cancel. Here's the problem. What I want to do is I want to take this thing and I want to go object group. Okay. Hold on. Let me, all right, I have to ungroup it. Let me object ungroup. There we go. Now, yeah, now I can group this. I want to group this, not that. Oh, it's still grouped. Let me object ungroup. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Control Z. Okay, so I can now take this. I'm going to just group that one object. Object group. There. Effect. 3D. Extrude and bevel. Now I got my extrude and bevel dialog box. I can preview this thing. There it is. I can, as 50 is fine. I can add some perspective to this like I did in the other one. Okay, give it kind of a really cool look. That looks great. I love it. And then I can come in here and I can choose more options and I can start playing around with some lighting on it. Oh, I love it. That looks so cool. And then I'm going to add a light right here. And that light is going to be brought over here somewhere. And it's a little bit too strong, so I can take the intensity down, drag the intensity down to about 70. That's probably good. Bring it up a little bit, 75 maybe. I love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. Now let's see if I move this around a little bit, what I get. That's very cool. That's good right there. I like it. Like it. And I hit OK. And now there is my energy, U.S. energy consumption for 2015. There's my second one. Now I'm going to create my third artboard here. I go in and create my third artboard, and I will do the third one for you, and then I'll show you how to create outlines, and we'll be done for tonight. So create a new artboard right here, and I'm going to do a line chart right here. So I'm going to drag this thing out, hold the shift key down, drag this thing out like that, and then what I'm going to do is click on this, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go into the information design, energy data, and this is going to be U.S. wind and solar. Can't import it. It's a graph. Remember, I'm doing this on purpose. I know I just seem like I'm an idiot, but I'm doing this on purpose because I want to remind you that it's not going to let you import the data this way. So what you have to do is you have to close this for a second, come in here, and open this up, and go into your folder, which is your energy data folder. Open up the U.S. wind, which is right here, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to save it on my desktop again so I can find it. Desktop, and this is going to be text, tab delimited, and hit Save, and hit Yes. And now I think if I come in here, and if I click on this, right-click on it, and go Data, I can click on this, and I can go to my desktop, and I can look for my wind. Where are you? U.S. wind and solar. Click on it, hit open, and there you go. Look at that. Oh, I love it. It's it, man. There it is. It is that. There it is. Okay? So look, this is your third project. This is the three of them. That's what it takes to do these three. It's not that hard. But again, the trick is once you do this, to come in and customize it a little bit. So here's what I do. Here's what I'm going to do. And remember, I keep messing this up. You got to keep this out. Look, it's your group selection tool and your direct selection tool. By clicking on the tab, you can actually bring this thing out and put it right here. You've got to keep in mind that the way to select elements on this is by using the group selection tool. So now that I got that, I can click on this. Let me move this out of the way. And I can move these things somewhere else. Like maybe I can move it right there. That's not bad there, okay? So now I got that there. And now it's still grouped together. This thing is still grouped together. So I can move this thing around as I want, all right? And now I've got something that'll work. Now the other thing is File, Open. Where are you? Graphics, open that. There are your stupid little graphics, your solar and your wind. I guarantee you if I had more time, it's actually 8:42. I'm running out of time for tonight. If I had a little more time, I would go and find some kind of a nice solar graphic and a wind graphic, but I'm going to use these because they were supplied to me, and because they were supplied to me, I'm going to act like it's respectful to use them. So I'm going to go Edit, Copy, all right, and then I'm going to come into my graphs, I'm sorry, this one right here, and go Edit, Paste, there, and I've pasted them in, and now I'm going to move them over here for 1 second so I can just get them and I can maneuver them. Both of these guys need to be smaller. Okay, so I'm going to scale this guy down to a size that makes sense. Right about like that is probably pretty good. Yep, that's pretty good. And you know what? I don't like that yellow. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to cheat and make it that orange color. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Oh, and I don't want the black outline on it. Get that gone. There we go. And as far as this thing is concerned, I got the same problem with it. It's a little bit too light. So what I think I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm going to go with a darker blue. Let's try that blue right there. That one right there. There we go. And again, I don't want it on the stroke. I want it on the fill. There we go. Okay, so even though I really hate these graphics, they at least are colored properly, and they will work. So let me select this thing, and let me scale that down as well. All right, hold the Shift key and the Alt key, and let me bring that down until it's about the same size as that other stupid graphic, which is about like that. That'll work. Okay, God, they're really awful. All right, now you have your solar. Now notice that the default color is gray and black. So the first thing that you could do here is you could come in, and again, you got to use your group selection tool. You can come in with the group selection tool, and you can start clicking on these line segments. Okay, now the top line segment is solar. All right, so the solar is the sun. So I think what I'll do is I'll make the line red. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that line red as well. Let me click on this and make this line red as well. So make that red. So we got a red line, and then we have our little solar graphics. So I'm going to go Edit Copy, and then Edit Paste. There. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little solar graphic, and I'm going to cover over that little spot with that. Then I'm going to take this graphic, and I'm going to apply it to each one of these little spots. So I'm going to go Edit Paste again. And then I'm going to take this one and move it over top of there. And then Edit Paste again. And then I'm going to move that one over top of there. And then Edit Paste again. And move it over top of there. I don't even have to remove those little, see these little shapes? You don't even have to remove them because I made them big enough that they'll cover. So Edit, Paste, and then I'll move that here. Now these guys here, we're going to go with solar. So what I thought I would do with this is I thought I would maybe make this line, this is wind. I'm sorry, wind. So what I thought I would do with this is select the lines first. And I thought maybe what I would do with the lines is make them a nice purple color, because that's a cool color. I like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully select that little square, and I'm going to hit Delete. And I'm going to take this little guy right here, and I'm going to move him right here. Okay? Then I'm going to select this guy and hit Delete. Oh, hold on. Delete it. Can't clear obviously certain. Cannot be removed from the graph. Okay, let me go Object. Hold on, let me see here. Object, Ungroup. Yep, there we go. Yes. Okay, so now I can do it. I have to ungroup it. So now I can click on that. I can delete it. And I got this thing selected. Let me go Edit Paste. Let's see if I do. No, I don't. I didn't copy it. Okay, so I'm going to select this thing. Yep. Control Z. Edit Copy. And then Edit Paste. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of move this guy up in about the same position, right about like that, okay? And then I'm going to go Edit Paste, and I'm going to carefully take this guy and put it right there, and then Edit Paste, and I'm going to take this guy and put it right there. Each place where there's a break or a division, Edit Paste. And I'm going to put this guy over here, and then Edit Paste, and I'm going to put this guy over here. And there you have your other graphic right there. There are your three graphics. View, Fit All in Window. View, Fit All in Window. Yeah, there we go. There are your three graphs. Okay, they look great. You could do however much of this as you want to do. Again, if you want to go to the trouble of doing what I did over here, great. You know, if you don't do that, you would do at least one of them. Okay, so it's totally up to you. The only reason I showed it is because I thought it's important for you to understand that you can control this if you give it a try. Okay, very important that you understand that. Now, there is one final thing that you need to know. And that is that if you do this the way I did it, you'll have no trouble. Now, remember that I went in on my original, which I don't have. I actually replaced them with all of these graphics. And when I shut it, I lost it. I lost that, all right? So you just remember that I did that. So you could do that as well, which will make it nice, by the way. But what I wanted you to understand is that some of the fonts that I'm using here, I have on my computer. And if you were working with those fonts, I'd have no trouble. But what I want you to do, since your assignment, this assignment is going to be sent to me as an Adobe Illustrator file. So you're going to send me the .ai file, which I'll show you how to do. What I need you to do is this. Let me go to the View menu and let me go Guides and let me clear the guides. There we go. Okay, so just pretend, if you will, that this is one page, 8.5 by 11. Don't, you know, this is 3 pages for me, but it's 1 for you. So I'm going to select all of this. All right, I've selected everything. Now, all of the fonts on here are active fonts. You can see the underline. Look at the one in the middle, U.S. Energy Consumption 2015. Can you see the line underneath it right there? That's live font, live text. If you sent this to me and the font that you chose to work with is not a font that I have on my computer, I would get an error message and the font wouldn't display properly, and that would be a problem. So what I want you to do to make sure that I'm able to read this is I want you to select all the type, just like I did. Watch, I'm going to go View, Fit All in Window again, and what I did was I just selected everything. And all the fonts are selected. I'm going to go to the Type menu. Now, what I want you to do is, before I do this, I want you to pay close attention to the U.S. energy consumption of 2015 and what happens to it. I'm going to go Type. I'm going to go Create Outlines. Now, watch U.S. energy consumption 2015. I'm about to click Create Outlines. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There. You see what it did? Actually, all the fonts did it. This stuff is no longer fonts. These are outline shapes. They're graphic shapes. And if you send me the file after you do this, I will have no trouble looking at your work. So it's very important that you remember to do this. So now I'm going to go File, Save As. And I'm going to save this again to my desktop, and I'm going to call this Final Submission, F-I-N-A-L-S-U-B-M-I-S-S-I-O-N, and then I'm going to call it B-I-L-L-S-W-E-E-N-E-Y. Okay? S-W-E-E, oh, I spelled my own name wrong. Look at that. N-E-Y. And my desktop, and hit Save. And hit OK. And now if I go onto my desktop here, let me just drag these things in here. I don't need them on my desktop. There we go. And if I come to my desktop, there is my final submission. And what I'm going to do is, on my machine, I right-click, and I'm going to go Send to Compressed Zip Folder. And there is my zipped final submission. Bill Sweeney, that right there is what you're going to send me for grading. And it will have your, open it up, it'll have your final submission in it. And that's it. That's how you do it. All right. I guess that's all I got for you tonight. Hope this works out okay. I hope you understand this all right. I'm going to drag this and drop it in there. Yeah, so I basically am done for tonight. Let me just close a couple of things up here. Done for the night. I am not going to be available tomorrow, but I will be available on Thursday night in Blackboard from 7 o'clock p.m. until 11 p.m. Mountain Time. Wait a minute. Sorry, that's wrong. From 10 to 11, 11 to 12, yeah, from 9 to 10, 10 to 11. 9 to 11 p.m. Mountain Time, Wednesday. Friday, from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Mountain Time, Friday morning. And then Saturday night from 7 o'clock p.m. until 12 p.m. Mountain Time. You can also give me a call. I generally answer the phone. I don't always answer the phone. I generally answer the phone. You can also send me an email if you have any problems. I hope everybody's good with what I did. I hope everybody understands clearly what it is that we got to do. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So good luck with everything, and I will see you next week. Or if you come and you visit me. Have a good night.